All right, everybody. I'm going to pull everyone together. I see some stragglers coming in through the back door. Good afternoon. There's some new faces in here. My name is Kiana. I am the co-chair of Project Vision here with Adam Sansick. I want to say hello to everyone. I'm sorry I've been gone the last couple of months. I just keep getting sick the second week of the month. So happy to be back. I've heard that we've had some really amazing things going on, a lot of good work going on in this room, so we're going to jump right into that. But I would like to start with the mayor's remarks.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Thank you for being here. So I wanted to give a quick update on H91. I don't know how many of you have been following the legislation, but H91 is the bill that worked its way through the House and the Senate to provide supports for basically restructuring the General Assistance Program, which is what's been helping to fund and house many of the homeless in the Rutland area, as well as throughout the rest of the state. So H91 was vetoed by the governor, along with a letter as to why he chose to veto it. To summarize, he feels like it needs more work and we need to find a better solution than the one that came out of the legislature. So what that means is there has been budget allocated for these services, and a lot of that has passed, but it leaves it open-ended as to what's next. In situations like this, the administration, so the state and then in this case AHS, would likely take that and try to take some of those recommendations and implement them through an administrative process. That may look similar to what we've seen in the past. It could look more similar to what's in the bill. A lot of that's to be determined. I know that's a lot of it depends language, but really what it does mean, and what I am hearing just through the conversations I had, and we were on a mayor's coalition call with VLCT earlier today, is that what it doesn't mean, which is more important, is it doesn't mean that the population will go unserviced. What it does mean is that we will continue to kind of work towards, and I'm sure there are others that have more expertise in this than me, work towards finding a solution and being able to provide services as much as possible. I do know that people are still going through grant application processes to provide additional services for some of those funds, so we'll see some of that fall out. And I do know that the shelter that is being developed to be built at Brock is still going through its processes because that's coming from other funding sources as well. So I know that's a lot of unknowns, but if you have questions or concerns about that process and you can't find answers, please feel free to give my office a call or reach out in those circumstances, and we will continue to stay connected with the leadership at AHS for those conversations. Any questions? Chris? You gotta wait for the microphone.
In the budget bill that was passed, which was signed by the governor, the legislature reaffirmed their 1,100 room cap and their 80-day limit. So the legislature, while this veto took place, they've gone into this with their eyes wide open that the fallback is still going to be the limitations on number of rooms and number of days.
Right.
So just in case there was any confusion on that, that's the legislature itself reaffirmed that.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Anything else? Great. Thanks. That's it for me.
So I did just want to add from the Agency of Human Services side that there's also been a concerted effort for the list of folks that will be currently at the 80-day cap, that we're doing extensive outreach with support from Council on Aging, the Vermont Chronic Care Initiative nurses, and other folks, both internally and externally, to reach these folks and provide some thoughtful planning for next steps for them. So I just wanted to let you know that that's something that's been in the works for the last 3 weeks. We'll continue through. If you have any questions around that, please feel free to reach out to me, Adam Sansick.
Thank you, Mayor Dunges. Thank you, Adam. Also, thank you to the person in the back of the room who mouthed introductions to me, because I'm a little rusty and I realized I forgot to invite new guests to Project Vision to stand up and introduce themselves. So if anyone who is new joining us today, I know one person who is new and I'm staring you down, you've got to stand up and a microphone will come to you and you can talk about yourself and the agency you represent. And there's a couple of other faces I don't recognize, so if you are moved to stand and introduce yourself, please do so.
Perfect. Thank you so much for putting me on the spot.
That's what I do.
My name is Peter Andrews. I'm here as a representative of Adult and Teen Challenge, based out of Johnson, Vermont. If you don't know us, feel free to get to know me. I am a graduate of the program and direct evidence that the program works. I am a local Vermonter that really wants to increase the discussion in meetings such as this on how we can help, not just necessarily show up and ask for help, but how we can be a resource within the Rutland community. I am an open book, so if you have any questions at all, grab me after this meeting. I'd love to discuss. We have open beds, and I will be making frequent trips to Rutland area to be more a part of this solution now that I'm not part of the problem. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Oh, we have another hand over here in the corner.
Hello, I am Carly Nichols. I have been here before in other roles, but I am the Healthcare for Homeless Veterans social worker through White River and Rutland, and I am looking forward to working with everyone. This is also Paul. He's the HUD-VASH social worker.
Love it. Welcome, guys. Thank you. I saw another person stand over on this side. Perfect.
Hi, I'm Ginger Morgan. I'm the new program director over at ARC Rutland area. And we provide advocacy resources and community services to our members. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. All right, anyone else? Any introductions for anyone else? All right, perfect. Thank you, guys. Now we're going to go ahead and get back to our regular programming and move into Chief Kilcullen's remarks.
Thanks, Kiana. Thanks, everyone. Hope you're enjoying this nice summer day. Finally here. Walked inside, though, it felt like winter. Actually, it's pretty comfortable, though, so thanks for the AC. So what's going on at the police department? Not a whole lot. No, I'm only kidding. You've probably heard of a few things in the paper recently. I'm sure you've heard of the mayor's neighborhood stabilization initiative, and we've been a big part of that. So over the last couple of months, we've executed a number of search warrants at a few properties in the city. And that's led to a few arrests. It's led to some stability in the neighborhoods. Much of what we look at initially tends to be criminal in nature, but when we get into the residence after executing the search warrant, there are a lot of other issues. And so we leverage other resources from within the city. So our building and zoning department's been very active, very instrumental in, again, bringing some stability to the neighborhoods, to the entire community. And this effort's being led from the police department standpoint from one of our acting sergeants, Eric Morgano, who's in the back. Hi, Eric. So we've had some promotions recently, some retirements, and so as a result of that, you may remember Jason Williams, who was our community outreach sergeant, who would be here fairly regularly. He's been promoted to commander. That created the vacancy in the community outreach team, and so Eric now is there as the acting sergeant. So he's spearheading the initiative from the department standpoint through the community outreach team. Other things that we've tasked Eric with is with recruitment. So Eric's been involved as part of our recruitment team for some time, but I think I mentioned a couple months ago we settled a contract with the union, and we've got a very competitive contract now. So our contract was about 3.5 years old, and a lot's happened in the previous 3.5 years. And so when we negotiated that contract, the economics were different, and fast forward 3.5 years, we weren't as competitive as we needed to be able to recruit and retain. So fortunately, we had the support of the mayor, of the board, and I think we've got a very competitive contract right now, and so we kind of want to strike while the iron's hot. So we really want to ramp up our recruitment efforts, and we're going to do that through Eric. So on Monday, I'll go to the board and get a sense for how many positions they'll allow us to fill. You may remember about 6 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, the board, we had quite a few vacancies, and one particular year we had about $1 million surplus in the police department because of the number of vacancies we had. And so the board said, look, it's difficult on the taxpayer to raise the tax dollars to support the budget when when we have a surplus like that. And it was hard to argue. So the board agreed to fund a certain number of positions with the commitment that if we fill those funded positions, it would allow us to continue to process new candidates. And so we're almost there. I've been trying to get these positions back incrementally. The mayor's been supportive of that. And so we're about there. We think we're going to fill those budgeted positions, but we need to continue. Even though we'll fill those positions, we anticipate filling those positions, I wouldn't say we're fully staffed. And so I'll be going to the board on Monday to have that conversation. And as I said, because timing is such that we need to, as I said, take advantage of this, I think, a very competitive contract right now. And so Eric's going to spearhead that with Tim Rice, who's also been involved in the recruitment team for a period of years now. So we're moving in the right direction. Again, as a result of some of the movement I just mentioned, Eric had formerly been in our BCR detective unit. That created an opening, so we solicited interest in that. We interviewed 3 candidates for that detective position, and we'll be moving someone from patrol into the detective position going forward. Again, because we still have a few openings, every division is working shorthanded, not as shorthanded as they were a few years ago. But our detective division needs some support. With the number of positions we've got filled right now, they still need some support. So we're trying to solicit interest from our patrol officers to support our investigations. And so we created what we're calling our investigative support team with our patrol officers who've expressed interest. As I said, we interviewed 3, so we have at least 2 individuals who unfortunately can't be assigned on a full-time basis right now, but we're hoping that they'll be part of the investigative support team where the detective sergeant can supplement the detectives assigned to certain cases with the investigative support team. And so that'll allow them to get some experience without being assigned there on a full-time basis, but to get some experience and be involved in some of the bigger cases. And so we're just in the process of now sort of developing that. And so going forward, we're hoping that's going to be a real sort of energy boost sort of to, the patrol officers who, unfortunately, don't get the opportunity to see some of the bigger cases that they may respond to initially, but they don't see the closure on some of those cases sometimes. And so we're hoping that's going to happen going forward. What else, Mayor, is going on? The situation table now has been up and running for a couple months. Rich Eckroat's the chair. Thank you, Rich. I think it's been going really well. Up to, 19 situations have been brought to the table. I want to give a shout out to everyone who's been involved, but especially to our community resource specialists. They've been a real part of that. When we started doing the situation table, and I said to Commander Prouty, I think our CRSs, they've got their hands on everything. They really should be part of every situation table that's brought forward, and they have been. And Taylor's served additional roles. Rich was out a week or 2, and if it was my first meeting and I saw Taylor running it, I wouldn't have known it was her first meeting running the meeting. So nice job, Taylor. And again, Sequoia's been very active bringing the situations to the table. So, but again, it's been working great. A couple other things. We went, you may remember a few years ago, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago now, there was a class action lawsuit that the city signed on to against the pharmaceutical companies, the manufacturers, distributors, and so in 2023, the money started to roll in, and so that fund is starting to build up, and we hadn't been able to access that yet, and so about a month ago, we went to the Board of Finance to talk about accessing those funds with a few different things that we needed money for. With the community, the outreach care team, if you've been part of that, I'm sure Matt's talked about it. But we had a vehicle that was about 25 years old, I think, and it was no longer inspectable, and had to bury it. So, but again, we had the need, and so and this was an appropriate use of the opioid use settlement money, and so we went to the Board of Finance, and we had gotten approval for about $100,000 expenditure. So it'll be nice. There's about a 6-month lead time on it, so it's still about 5 months out probably, but we had approval for that. So we're excited to have that coming at some point. We were also able to get approval for support for a treatment court, another appropriate use of the opioid use settlement money. And we also had approval for construction of one of our conference rooms upstairs to be able to accommodate the situation table. So I was on vacation at the end of March, and Matt was in charge. And I got back and, hey, we want to show you something. He went upstairs and everything's torn apart. Walls are down. It's like, well, we had to take advantage of the fact that DPW, it was rainy and they couldn't work outside, so we had them tear the building apart. Anyway, so I said, that's great. Where's the money coming from? And so we did. We went to the Board of Finance and did approval for that. And so it'll be a nice room that'll be outfitted with the appropriate technology. We'll have plenty of room to host most of what we need to host. So with that, thanks everyone. Enjoy the summer day.
Thank you, Chief. A little taller than I expected. Next, I would like to invite up Commander Prouty for the Vision Center update.
Good afternoon, everyone. So a funny game that we like to play at the PD is the chief's vacation schedule and the command on call schedule. Where does it overlap, and will it be me? And what else can we do while he's gone? Yeah, we might have went a bridge too far on that one, but it did work out. So the chief actually hit a lot of the things that I wanted to discuss, but Rich Eckroat is here, and Sergeant Morgano and I met with Rich this last week, and we discussed embedding a probation officer up in the Vision Center again, which, if for you guys that have been with Vision a long time, that's kind of how we started. So it's nice to get back to our roots a little bit. I think that's going to be great. Also, to support the Neighborhood Stabilization Initiative, and Eric, we're going to be, we're kind of courting a special agent from Homeland Security to assist us with some of our criminal investigations. They have a lot of resources that we don't have locally, so it'll be nice to bring them in as well. I also want to give a shout out to, the chief talked about us going to the Board of Finance and prepping for that meeting. Chad's not here, but my VDH homies, bring us back to him. It was great. We actually consulted beforehand, just going through some data. So when I did go to the Board of Finance, I could really explain some pretty important fact patterns of how this team and the work has reduced cost across multiple platforms, including the hospital, the police, ambulance service, et cetera, and why we really need them to support that. So thank you, Department of Health. And let's see, what else did I have? Chief talked about the Neighborhood Stabilization Initiative. I think that's it for me. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. So now we are at the section where I'm going to pick on you all and someone's got to get up and talk again. We are in the announcements section of our agenda. So if there any agencies you guys are working with have anything fantastic happen, I know Matt's VDH homies have something that they want to talk about, but please stand, a microphone will come to you. Tell us what you've got going on.
Thank you. Hey everyone, my name is Jonah. I'm the chronic disease designee at the Office of Local Health here. You might have heard about this, but we are hosting a free oral health pop-up clinic this Saturday from 9 until 4. It's being held at the Vermont Farmers Food Center on West Street. It's 251 West Street. It is entirely free. We are booking appointments, but they're filling up quickly. It is primarily a walk-in clinic though, so no worries if you know anyone who you feel could benefit from our services. One of the things I want to kind of make clear is that it's a minimally invasive dentistry clinic. So if someone has like a severe issue, if they need a tooth pulled, if they have an infection, if they have a cracked tooth, things of that nature, those are not things that we're necessarily able to address. However, folks should still consider coming because they can have a dentist take a look at what's going on, address smaller problems that they might have, and then make some, come away more informed about what their needs are. If anyone has any questions, feel free to come chat with me after this. I'm happy to pass on my email address and phone number, and we encourage anyone who could benefit to come on by. We're going to see all comers. The doors will close at 4 o'clock, but anyone who gets there by that point will be seen. But yeah, feel free to come chat if you have any other questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
If
PDH is definitely taking up a little bit of time. Hi, everybody. My name's Catherine. I'm one of the nurses at the health department. Since this will go on PEG, I will definitely let Chad know that you gave him a lovely shout out. Chad is our local epidemiologist that did that data. So we have lots of exciting things happening on top of the dental pop-up clinic. We have a pilot program going on until the end of October, or really when state parks close. So if you know folks that are eligible for 3 Squares, general assistance, fuel assistance, reach up, summer EBT, WIC, them and their household can access state parks completely free. They just need to show their card. I have lots of flyers for those, and that I'll place out back. And then more event specific. The La Leche League, which is our local breast and chest feeding league, an advocacy group, is hosting a baby gear swap. That will be on August 2nd at the Trinity Episcopal Church. They are looking for items to be donated such as baby shoes, winter clothing gear, baby monitors, nursery items, bassinets, and really items all the way up from 0 to 5, because we recognize that there's siblings in the household that might need some materials as well. If that's something you're interested in, or if you know folks that would be wanting to attend the event, I'll put the flyers out there. They are asking that if you bring a pack of wipes or diapers, that kind of helps participate, and it's going to grow and grow. And then beyond that, personally plugging myself, Jane, and Jonah, the YRBS Roadshow has hit the road. We are ready to come to you. We have data, and we want to fine-tune it to your organization's needs. So we've presented to the Rutland Youth Coalition. If anybody has attended that, they could speak to the mental health challenges that we highlighted there, but there's lots of different data points that YRBS highlights that we'd be happy to discuss. And in addition, if you have an in-service day that is looking a little blank, or you're looking for a training opportunity this summer that's completely free, I'm a Stop the Bleed trainer. That is a free 1-hour course. You walk away with a kit. It's hosted through the Medical Reserve Corps, Go MRC. And then we also have our Askable adult training through the Vermont Violence. But wait, there's more. It's like the QVC, right? For 4 payments of $19.99, you get to spend a lot of time with me. So, Askable adult training, learn to be a more askable, approachable person. Stop the Bleed training, all completely free. Reach out, Catherine, Vermont Department of Health, and then of course these awesome programs that we have going on that I'll put the flyers out. All right, that's all the airtime. Someone else.
Awesome, thank you. And I'm gonna pick on my friends from Adult Teen Challenge because I heard there's a banquet to be discussed, but you can go after these guys. I did not see a hand on this side of the room.
Hi, everyone. I am Carly again, and I'm from the VA. The VA is hosting an all-hands-on-deck unsheltered veterans outreach surge event, which is going to be on Tuesday, the 24th. It is a one-day outreach surge focused on connecting veterans to immediate same-day interim housing and vital support services. So I do have flyers that I'm going to hand out, and if anybody has any other questions, you can certainly chat with me after. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I didn't see you. I was not looking at that side of the room.
That's okay.
Alrighty, back to this side. I saw Adult Teen Challenge and then another hand over there.
It's good. So yes, as she stated, Adult and Teen Challenge is really looking to reestablish our place within the Rutland community. Like I stated before, I am a graduate of the program, so just live evidence that the program does work. Our goal is at the end of June, June 28th, there will be a banquet at the Franklin Event Center, which has been graciously donated to us to allow the community to see the results of the donations, the results of the support, and more importantly, just reestablish that we're here to help the community. I think in previous years of Adult and Teen Challenge, we'd show up and kind of leave. And the fact that I'm a local boy and know that there's a lot that we can do in our backyard, I think it's important that we invest in that. And you'll see my face at a lot more of these meetings. You'll see my face on the street just offering them what I have now. So if it's on your heart, we sell tables to go to that. If you own a local business or know anybody that's willing to sew into that banquet, I have a mountain ahead of me, to be honest. I have 17 days to put on this banquet. I think there's 28 hours in the day right now that I'm working. But I'm not telling you anything you don't know working in this field, right? So if you would like to see me after, I'd love some help on that. Your connections and anything like that, I'd gladly sew back in. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Perfect.
All right, and one more hand right behind you. There we go.
I just want to put in a quick plug. Some of you have gotten the email about a wellness conference. I'm Pat Brome. I work at Vermont State University. I work with the Center for Social Justice and Trauma Responsive Care. We are putting on a wellness conference for social service professionals, those who work with people. We need to take care of your wellness. So the information's out there. If you have questions, please let me know. We do have a scholarship. If you or your agency cannot afford the registration fee, just let me know. I'll get you in. So that's it. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
And then, perfect. We have another hand in this row as well.
Hi, I just have a quick plug. I'm Kristen Nugent, Family Services Manager at Rutland County Head Start. And we have a lot of openings. We are enrolling kids now for the fall in the 3 to 5 year old age group. Despite the turbulence in federal funding, we are funded to enroll those kids for the upcoming school year. So if you know any families, we do accept subsidy, but there's no cost to the family. And we also provide supports to the family and work in conjunction with community organizations to help, like Homeless Prevention Center and such. So if you know anyone enrolling, have them call and we'll get their kids set up for pre-K.
Awesome, thank you so much. One more hand over here.
Hello, I am Tyler. I'm the marketing coordinator over at the bus. Just a quick reiteration if you have not heard yet. The Older Adults and Disabled Individuals program is changing on July 1st. All that is coming in-house to Marble Valley. And I know that we have not received all of our calls yet from some people who are still using our program partners. If you could please encourage them to just say, hey, call up the number 773-3244. We're there. We're always willing to take new people. I think we've had just about 80 calls this past month, so we know that we have a lot more. If anyone needs to use these services or is not too sure about them, I'll be here, always willing to talk about it, and I love to chat. So, yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so I'm not seeing any more hands, so this is where I leave you all. My first day back is a half day, and I would like to invite up Marcia Casal and Pat Hunter for the Community Policing Subcommittee follow-up. So we're gonna be going over all the fun stuff you guys did without me over the last couple of months. So thank you guys so much, and I will be in the back if anyone needs me at the end.
Hello. Marcia hid behind the screen. So, last month, this group worked on reviewing what we've started calling the pillars for Project Vision. It's something that came about and over many, many months in conversations. Matt Prouty was initiating some of those ideas as he was looking overall at the programs, and we just started talking and forming what were the 4 pillars, which were prevention, intervention, accountability, and support. And last month, the group came together, heard about those pillars and what our committee envisioned each of those terms meant. And then everyone broke into groups, 4 groups, 1 for each pillar, and identifying what you understood by that pillar, what it meant, where you fit in, where your organization fit in, and then what's happening here in Project Vision in Rutland, and what might be missing. What organizations do we feel weren't here and we'd like to see here? And then what plans or what we wanted to see going forward for during 2025. So each of you should have 2 sheets of paper that Marcia was handing out when you came in. And again, we're just going to look at it in terms of those 3 questions that we asked the participants. Where and how do you and or your organization fit into the pillars? And looking at each one, we realized as you can see on the form, it seems that folks felt comfortable identifying where they fit in, and in many cases fit in more than one pillar. So you will see duplication of organizations as you look at this chart. The way we've put it together, we collated all the notes that were submitted from each of the pillar groups and did the best we could here for a summary. We think we caught it all, but today's an opportunity to say, hey, you missed this, or you got that wrong, or to give us feedback on that. And so prevention, our essence of what we got from the prevention committee was they saw themselves as a diverse and committed network, recognizing connection is central to prevention, and that connection requires intention. And this was one group that listed the agencies that they saw involved in work in prevention within Project Vision and within Rutland. And they divided it into 4 categories. It's the only group that did that, but you'll see there's health and service agencies, education and learning agencies, justice and support services, and community-focused organizations. So if you would just take a moment just to look at that list, there's quite a list of organizations that we have as a part of our network doing incredible work here in prevention. So as we look at this list going forward, you'll find some places where there are question marks. That means that there was something that we got in the notes that we weren't quite sure what it meant. I don't see any under the prevention category, but if one of the things we certainly have a lot of organizations that are known by their letters only, like RRMC, most people know it's the hospital. Some of the others seem to be familiar to most, like SVCOA, Southern Vermont Council on Aging, but some may be here that you don't know, and if we need to spell it out, please let us know. So if you turn to the next page, intervention. Intervention entails outreach, street work, addressing basic needs, knowing obstacles. And here we have, it looks like a dozen agencies there. If you look at the list, you will see there is one with a question mark. And on one of in that intervention group, there was a sticker for Center for Trauma and Response, and we weren't quite sure who that was. Does anyone? Okay. Tell us what you say there, because Marcia's going to fix it. She's behind the screen, and she's fixing it right away.
Hold on.
Oh, wait.
Sorry, we're recording.
Center for Social Justice and Trauma Responsive Care.
Do you have that, Marcia? We'll take a moment.
Is that
just
the
say
question?
It one more time again. Yes, we want to make sure we have the name of the group or the organization.
Center for Social Justice and Trauma Responsive Care.
Okay, I think I saw that on another spot on our charts here.
No, it's a group of us through Castleton. Yeah, Vermont State University at Castleton. It's social work, sociology, criminal justice, women and gender studies. We got together and formed a group. We're not exactly a nonprofit. We're just a group of people that are trying to do things.
Wow, great. All right, and we're going to talk a little bit.
Thank you. Yes, Sarah, we do great things.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about learning about one another and what we all do, which I will get to because that's going to be an important part of this. Do I need this higher? Oh, okay. Oops. All right. It's okay. Can hear me better now. I think that was the only question mark there. Everybody knows what all the others letters stand for. Any questions?
I would just ask, because we did have BTSU social work. Are those synonymous or are those different things? Different things. Okay.
All right. That's why we're clarifying here. It's we're all learning. There's just so many good things going on here, so we're learning names and labels. If there was anybody in prevention or intervention group and wants to add anything, did I miss anything yet, or need a correction? Okay, so I'm going to move down to accountability. The accountability group said that accountability is about individual, organizational, and community responsibility, recognizing that actions, both positive and negative, cause ripples and impact the larger community. It was interesting that from the notes we saw that the sense of accountability was for everyone, for all of us, not just for people we are serving, but for those of us who are doing this work, that we are accountable to ourselves, to one another, as we work together. So you'll see several organizations listed under accountability. That tended to be the smallest of the pillars in terms of participation. So I will move on to support. Now, support, you may wonder, why is it there twice? That's because it didn't all fit at the bottom of the page. So it goes from the bottom of this page to the top of the next, where support is about healthy transitions and a continuum of case management, reducing recidivism, rehospitalization, and relapses. And this was, in fact, the largest group that assembled last month. Great number of organizations involved in support. I don't see any question marks here, though. Did anyone have a question about any of the abbreviations that are here? Okay, all right. So there was so much going on, and one of the things we had asked in our questions was which services or aspects of the community are missing, and how can we invite them in? And so each of the groups listed who they thought might be missing. And it was interesting because sometimes missing meant nobody's seen here, and has not been part of Project Vision. But it also ended up meaning who's not in our group, and we want to be here. And it turned out that they might have been sitting in one of the other groups and that it wasn't listed as for that particular pillar that they were sitting. And also it could mean that the person was not present this day from that agency, and so they ended up being missing, even though they've been participating. And sometimes people, as we're learning what different organizations are doing, we just weren't aware. So this missing category is an interesting one. My thoughts as I look at it, you might say overall, these are organizations that people felt were important, and they didn't know that they thought they either weren't here or were we needed to invite them in. So if you look down, schools were mentioned by multiple groups. There was interest in having a youth voice and participation in general. Restorative justice was an interesting one because some people listed them as missing, but they were also showing up on some of the other pillar groups, so that happens. And as just look down the list, I noticed going down CEDAR, the business sector engagement. That was a different type of organization from the others. Yes. Okay, well, that's where they showed up as missing, so that's a question. That's, in terms of history, I don't know if that's quite a way to go into it now or a discussion after. Maybe. So one of the things, that point is going to come up in a moment, so thank you, Al. And one of the others that came up in various ways, and I have a personal connection, I'm not with an agency, I'm a community member. So down at the bottom of the list, how are we engaging community members at large? Because I know there was a point in Project Vision where there were more people just coming in, as members of the community rather than just agencies. So, if we are okay, I'm going to move on. The last question that we asked is, what do you want to see happen regarding Project Vision in 2025? And we did our best to go through the items that were there, and some showed up on in more than one place, some just in one pillar. We think we captured them, but probably didn't get them all. So here's a chance. I'm going to ask you to listen to this section carefully for what you feel belongs here and needs attention in this year. The first that came up in multiple pillars was the need to understand and know what other organizations are doing here, that we just don't know everybody and don't know what they're doing. So the request was to develop dynamic, engaging events such as a facilitated mixer or organizational fair, or facilitated panel presentations, places that would, a way of doing it in an interesting fashion, so it's not somebody just reading off a list of what they do and then the next person coming up and just reading off a list of what they do, which could be deadly, but really how to have an engaging discussion or opportunity to learn what organizations are doing so that you can connect to that and relate it to what you are doing. This was popular, and it actually is already something that had been in the works, and Eric is working on that, and so this is being addressed already. And so we put it here because it was listed as something important, and that is one that is underway, and we wanted you to know. The rest are not actively underway. And from the items you listed, there was a question about examining barriers created by the competition for funding or scarce resources and find ways to overcome these barriers. Some of the tasks are big ones you picked up. How to overcome these barriers created by competition. So think about that as something you might want to work on in 2025. And for each of these items, think about what you'd like to work on. Next one, promote intergenerational engagement. And it seemed to be educational pop-ups or service opportunities, arts events, parenting classes, some programs for prevention and support that would be intergenerational. Something that works for you and has your interest for this year. Be ready to move on that one. Explore ways to reduce barriers to post-offender or rehabilitation opportunities. And it said, for example, wraparound services and continuum of care, continuing of care and jobs and housing. So that's another activity that people were interested in seeing get underway. Next one, identify beautification projects to create safe, inviting public spaces and neighborhoods. Sometimes in the past that's come under the title environmental design, but it's like what can be done to create more beautiful and inviting community spaces. Focused PR and marketing of Project Vision's good work, and that is in terms of podcasts, PEG TV, YouTube video. We're not talking about social media or letters to the editor. We're talking about, putting together programs, again, podcasts, PEG TV, YouTube videos. Next item was implement a common or universal release of information ROI form. We know there's some legal technicalities that making that one very difficult, but it was there on the wish list. And then this one was an interesting one that came up in more than one place. Defining best practices. How to have warm handoffs and transitions, meeting people where they are at, going into the field, and having appointment-based versus immediate care appointments, interactions, and assisting in completing forms. In other words, when people use the term meeting people where they're at, people mean different things by that, and it would be really helpful for people to sit down and talk about that and what that means so that we can all work together better. Then there was something that we didn't know what it meant. It said multiple versus single certifications. Does anyone know what was meant by that? Nope. Okay, we still have a question mark then. And it was about holding ourselves accountable and holding one another accountable. So it's like just being clear. What do we mean by things and how does it unfold. How do we help one another do this work? How do we institutionalize best practices so that work is not personnel dependent? And everybody was saying that there were organizations or groups that they wanted to invite to Project Vision, so that would be an activity or a group that could work on this. So those are the things that we captured. I'm sure we missed some things, and I want to hear from this group, is there anything else that you felt either last month or is coming up for you today that you feel would be something you want to see happen in Project Vision in 2025? All right, well, we wanted you to have time to work together today, so here's what we thought we'd do. These were items that everybody said that were of interest that you wanted, and if you'll notice, we underlined certain words so that we could identify one item from the next. So the first item, that organizational fair, that has been undertaken and is underway. But as you look down, from the next bullet down, examining barriers, I'd like you to look at that list and say, which one of these would I like to sit and talk with some people about and see what we could get going? Which of these is worthy of further conversation? And right to Al's point, it's the last one, inviting missing organizations. Why aren't businesses here? And have a conversation about that. And if you'd like to have businesses here, what would have to be done to have that, facilitate that, to encourage that? So I'm going to ask you to think about what topic you'd like right now, today, in the next moment, to sit and talk with someone else about. And so I'm going to ask you to raise your hand, just pick one. And what I thought we'd do is, let's say Al, if it's okay if I pick on you, Al? Okay, so for example, Al picked this one up. How about we'd say Al is going to sit back in that portion of the room, and if you'd like to talk about that today back there with Al, then you'll get up and move to that spot, okay? And you'll have a talk, and someone will take some notes that you get back to us, to Matt and me and Marcia, and we'll put this together so they don't get lost. Someone else have another one that they'd like to just have a conversation about? Yeah. The what? Sorry. Marketing. Okay, marketing. And tell me your first name again. Tyler. So Tyler's going to sit over in this corner over here. Tyler's going to be over there, and we'll talk about marketing. Okay, thank you so much, Tyler. It's hard to get, I had to volunteer Al, but thank you. Yes, in the back. Okay, intergenerational activities and opportunities, and you are Renee. Renee is Council on Aging. Renee is in the back, Council on Aging. Okay, so we have 3 groups so far. Yes. Okay. Okay, why don't you stay right over there, more towards the front? You know, that's Jonah, and that is about, let me make sure I got. Yep. Right. Barriers created by competition for funding and such, to have a conversation about that. Do we have another topic? Yes. Beautification projects. Thank you. Are you okay back? Would you mind being in the center in the back? Oh, okay, great. Everybody hear that? Beautification projects, center in the back. Do we have another topic? Yes. Okay. Right. Matt, Matt will talk with you about that right up here in front. Okay? All right. Anyone else? Okay. So the people who raised their hand and picked a topic, could you stand? Oh, just 1 second. Is there any other topic not touched on that you'd like to talk about today? Okay, the people who raised their hand, if you would stand up. All right, and would you just move to the section where you are and remain standing?
Feel free to move the chairs into a circle. You could face each other, etc.
Okay, you heard that. Feel free to move the... Okay. All right. Thank you. So if you would move to the group that most captures your interest. I'll come back. I'm going to ask that one person from each group find a way to get notes to either Matt or to me, so that we just find out what discussion points came up that would be valuable. Okay, so we're not having a group report out, but each group, if one person, probably the person who raised their hand, could get us some notes, that would be great.
Thank you, everybody. I'm just going to go ahead and repeat what Pat had said. If the identified point person from each group could please raise their hand and be ready to come up and meet with us and discuss what you discussed in your small groups. Nope. It was hard to hear you over everyone. I was trying.
Hi. Rather than have each group report, we're asking that each group leader get notes to us. Maybe we'll direct them to Matt. Or if you want to me, we'll check in. We just want to make sure that we get some note or something of what went on in the group. If there's something that's really burning that you talked about in your group that you feel has to be said right now, that's okay, but we thought we would just move on to the next stage, okay? So thank you. Each group leader, you'll get something to us.
Perfect. Thank you guys. Sorry for that bit of miscommunication. It was really loud in here, but that's good because the loud means we're having conversations and we're doing the work and we're planning for the future and the future of Rutland, which is awesome. We are going to be moving into our general networking section in just a moment here, but I would be remiss if I did not include the positive and uplifting story for this month. So if anyone has a positive or uplifting story that they would like to share, please stand, raise your hand, a microphone will come to you. Do not start the story before you get the microphone or PEG TV can't hear it. And if nobody raises their hand, I'm going to start pointing at people. I'm going to look at you, Catherine. You always have something great to say.
So I would say that with all of the changes, and I am a public health nurse, that these have been very difficult times, yet the folks that we get to serve always take a moment to say thank you. And especially related to vaccines, that thank you sometimes is very surprising. But we recently had a really warm welcome at Companions of Wholeness, and folks come over to us not only to receive health information and vaccines and resources, but they just want to touch base now, and they know us as the HPV ladies. What a title, right? What an association. But we have a lot of fun with it, and I'm just so grateful for those folks that through all of these hard times, they still are such a shining bright light for us. And so that, it's not a super specific story, but that Companions in Wholeness, volunteer your time, grab a cup of coffee, and if you have clothing, donate them, because they're always looking for some goodies, especially men. If you know of smaller, thinner size pants, that's something that they're commonly looking for. So,
let me just add.
Oh, here, let me bring you the mic.
Just one word, bug spray would be a great thing to donate. People are coming in, eating alive, sleeping outdoors.
It's tick season, folks. Check yourselves. I have to tell you to check yourselves. So check out the Vermont Department of Health for tick-related resources.
Done.
Oh, all right, there you go.
Perfect. And just on that closing note, my favorite campaign I've seen from the Department of Health this year, well, there's two. The first one is the tick campaign, where they showed a picture of a poppy seed bagel, and you had to figure out where the tick was. And I had to look at it 2 or 3 times before I could find out where the tick was. Another initiative that I did not remember to mention earlier is not only is June Pride Month, which is great, love that, love to see it, it's also Men's Mental Health Month. And I want to give the Department of Health a huge shout out for their comprehensive campaign they've had, like very targeted towards men. I've only seen it on like my stepdad's phone when I'm sitting next to him, so your marketing is on point. But it is just so, so important to check in on the men in your lives. You know, this is a really important month of the year. It's Father's Day. There's so much going on. Check in on the men that you care about. Their mental health is important too. So thank you guys so much. I think, is this the last story? We have one?
I just had. I always seem to be interrupting.
Sorry.
No, I was going to give it to Pat because Pat was sitting right. There are 2 or 3 members of this organization, namely Pat Lancaster and Marsh Cassell, that are members of, and Noam Cohen, who's sometimes here, who are members of something we call the Declaration of Inclusion. And it's an initiative which I know Brian and several other people in this organization are familiar with, to get all 247 towns, municipalities, if you will, in Vermont to adopt a Declaration of Inclusion. And basically what that says, what we ask is that each town say that they will welcome all those folks to Vermont, everybody to Vermont, but especially those who are considered to be marginalized, and that your town will provide security and safety, as well as obviously a community that says we want you here. And so to date, and the reason why I'm making this little bitty announcement is that we're just about at 80% of every town, city in Vermont adopting that declaration. Yeah. And Pat Lancaster here has done a survey of the first 100 towns that have adopted, and 50% of those responded saying that they are actually doing something, not just signing the declaration. And so Pat's done a yeoman, your person work, so thanks. Yeah.
Thank you both. This is amazing. All right, I'm going to do a head on a swivel one last time to make sure I don't miss anybody. I'm sorry, I've done that twice today, guys. All right, I think then we can go ahead and move into our general networking. Unfortunately, we are pizza-less this month, my bad. Do not worry when we come back in the fall, because I believe, are we meeting in July, Commander Brownie? We are not meeting next month. So you guys all get summer vacation next month. But when we come back in August, I promise I will feed you. So go enjoy your networking, talk. Let's get this room loud again, and let's do the great work. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.